it doesn't matter. As long as when you wake up in the morning, you have an intention of being positive, an intention of directing your day.
Sure.
I'm going to go biblical just a little bit. There's a scripture in Deuteronomy 33 verse 25, the last part, it says, as thy days, so shall thy strength be. So as your day is going to unfold, that strength for that day, you already have it. So you will not have too much or too little to face the battles for the day. And because as thy days, so shall thy strength be, then you need to prepare your mind for that day. And that's why it's important to have a morning routine.
I feel like this is a new beginning for me because I'm at home right now, man. We're in Pretoria East at 4 at Kim Yard. What is this, a driving range? Is this a golf course? It's a driving range, right?
Yeah.
It's a golf course. Okay.
Mm.
So you see, I'm getting used to this. I'm taking my time.
Getting used to the language.
But sitting next to me right now is a man that I've actually met on many occasions. We've been on Twitter Spaces quite a lot. I love his work. I follow his work, not just him individually, but also as part of Dads in the Picture. And man, these men are doing amazing work for the children, for women, and for family as a unit, right?
Yeah.
And for fathers, more importantly.
Yeah.
But today we're going to touch on a little bit of that as well. But more importantly, we're talking about the work that this man has currently put out, which is Morning Thoughts. So allow me to officially welcome Mr. I'll call him Daddy. and we'll explain that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But there is Zibuse L Kunene.
Yes.
Welcome to Man Up Conversations.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, man.
I think they say when you send vibes out, it comes back. So
Man.
prayer answered.
Hey, I love it, right?
Yeah.
I remember telling you, Hore, about last year, maybe earlier last year, I spoke to Pramesh, who's one of your partners called Dads in the Picture. That, man, I love what you guys are doing. And I want to do some kind of conversation, some kind of interview and work with you guys. But, as life would have it, you happen to put out this beautiful work. And this is the start of many conversations,
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
Yeah, new beginnings, as you said.
New beginnings, man.
And interesting enough, when you look up the number 8, it also represents new beginnings. And this is happening in August, the 8th month of the year.
Yes, man.
What better time?
Come on. You can tell we're speaking to an author right now. Huh? Well, enough about the intros, man. But Daddy, you here, and maybe before we get too far into what we're gonna talk about, let's break down this whole thing. Yeah, Daddy.
Yeah. So Daddy is at Dads in the Picture. Maybe let's start it this way. Dads in the Picture was founded in 2012, right? And when it was founded, it was mainly because Daddy Mish was raised by an army of women, and there was no father present.
Sure.
And every time Rona as dads, when we leave relationships, when we leave homes, we leave the children behind. And so there was no father for him. And therefore he decided, you know what? Who is there for the children? So therefore encouraging dads to be in the picture.
Sure.
So actually Dads in the Picture is about the children, and we're advocating for children to have a positive male role model in their lives. So we're advocating for children, but doing the advocacy with the dads.
Yes, man.
And then we say to the dads, you don't have to be perfect. Ne? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be this well put out guy that you've got everything figured out with all your flaws, with all your insecurities. Come, let's work together so that as you become a positive male role model to your child, modeling your rise and your fall, you're doing it while your child is there, while you are providing that psychosocial support. Even if you don't have money, you don't need money to be a dad. So that's what we put out. You don't need money to be a dad, even though we've been seen as ATMs. Right?
Yes, sir.
When you don't have money, it doesn't matter what else you can provide. You're useless.
Ish.
So
and that's a hard one.
It's a hard one. And for a man to to be made to feel useless it's a hard thing. It hurts. It hurts your ego. So we're saying to dads, as painful as it is, come, be part of us.
Sure.
Let us heal together. Let us grow together. Let us work together in finding solutions about who we are as men. And so then we say, we don't exclude from the age of 18 upwards as a male. You've got those decision-making skills, that ability to then start taking care of a younger one. Right. And therefore, we then call you daddy. You being prophetic in a way, saying that you are daddy, that in whatever you do, remember, that is who you are. You are a dad, right? Over and above being a man, but you are a dad. And there are things that you need to learn along the way. So we encourage the 18-year-olds upwards because we don't want them to be consequential fathers. Like most of us who are.
Unplanned, right?
Exactly.
Unplanned, yes, sir.
You got into a consequential relationship and then got into a consequential marriage if you did get to that stage, and now you're a consequential parent. Everything about you is consequential. But instead of then jumping out of all of that, let us learn how to be better parents.
I love it.
Be active. So that's why then we say daddy.
Man.
If you're a male, we call you daddy. If you're a woman, we call you mommy. So everyone is mommy, everyone is daddy, and that's it.
Man. That's like an affirmation almost, right?
Yes.
It's like a blessing. Or no, man. You know, or I say that we all fathers. Whether you're 10, whether you're 5, whether at different phases of your life, you're always supporting or fathering someone.
Yeah.
And maybe because you haven't really brought someone into the world, we don't look at you as that father. But I love that idea that you're bringing, that you kind of grow up with the awareness. Or man,
yeah.
I need to be responsible for other people, not just myself.
And there's a saying in Sizulu that says ubudoda bukhulelwe. So you never know when you're a man. So you suddenly realize, hey, I'm a man. But also, what defines a man? Right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
others used to say it by how you take care of responsibilities, by how you own up to certain things. When you see a gap, you step up and you step in. And then that's when you are regarded as a man. But if I may ask you also and say, how did you know that you were a man? Who affirmed you that you were a man?
That's a hard question. Huh? I've never been affirmed by anyone really.
Yeah.
But I had a very interesting message. I got a very interesting message from my nephew, I think last year, on Father's Day. And he wished me a happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, man, I've been unconsciously raising this kid and suddenly seeing that father in me.
Yes.
So I think at that moment I was like, okay, man, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
So I could say that's a moment that I was like, sure, although I was 36 at the time, it's much older. Yeah. But it's a one moment that I could point to that I can say, okay, there's someone affirming me as a man.
Yeah.
Sure.
And again, we say daddy because fatherhood is a hard thing. It's not a biological thing. It's a hard thing. There are men who will never have fathers, who will never have children, but they are fathers in their hearts. They do parenting better than a biological father.
True.
So do you then say he's not a father? So we say, hey, daddy.
Man, I love it, man.
Yeah.
So all you dads out there, just remember that, man. Affirm your kid, man. Affirm your daughter.
Yes.
At the end of the day, and you becoming a parent to someone, right? Whether you are biological or not. I love that point.
And another conversation for another day, though, is how we as men, when you talked about, affirming our daughters, we need to talk about why is it that as men, we seem to mess up spaces where women's progress and growth is concerned. another day.
That's another day.
Let's put a pin on it.
Man, how's that for a morning thought?
Yes.
Man. So we got to make this swift transition, man, to what we're talking about. I think that's a very nice foundation we've set up. Like I said, this is going to be an ongoing conversation around fatherhood, around parenting and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about your love for writing.
Yeah.
I went through your social media and I've kind of been, but now more intentionally so because I'm going to talk to you. And I'm like, man, this man you spitting some other knowledge here, But, why the love for writing, man? What sparked that for you?
I think for me, I've always loved writing. I don't know when or how it started, right? But I enjoyed writing and I wrote a lot. But then when it came to Morning Thoughts, it's even funny how it happened because we had gone and had a braai at a friend's place, my wife and I. So we were hosted by this couple. And when we got there, we were taking pictures. So instead of sending pictures to this one and then sending this one and then sharing this one, I created a broadcast list on WhatsApp. And then from there, I shared the pictures. And I kept it. And then the next thing I was sharing jokes. Not every now and then, just once in a while. And then I decided, let me add others onto this broadcast list. And then I sent, those inspirational messages here and there. And then it started gaining traction because then I started adding more people. But then again, the funny thing is, how certain things you think, man, it doesn't hurt.
Sure.
It hurts when you have your number blocked because some people didn't ask to be on that list. And now here they are daily getting these things. They're like, man, I don't want this. So I got to experience that and I was like, okay, cool. It's not about me.
Sure.
I intruded their spaces, so it's fine. So then I remember it was October 2019 when my nephew, who's in the army, said to me, hey, kinfolk. He calls me kinfolk, so we call each other that. So he says, why have you stopped? Because I think it was a few days where I was not sending anything.
Sure.
Because then I was not even consistent. I was sending once in a while here and there. And then he says, no, don't stop. He says, when I'm having a hard day, or when I've had a hard day, and before I sleep, I go through those messages. And they change my life. They make me feel better. For me, that I was like, whoa. He depends on these messages. And then I started taking them seriously. And then when I then started gaining momentum around them, another friend of mine, there's actually a YouTube video where we're doing morning thought reflections. She then says to me, my brother was going through a depressive episode and I used to share these messages with him and they helped get him out of depression. And for me, I realized this is bigger than what I thought.
Sure.
Something that was for me ended up employing me. These were morning thoughts that and even then it wasn't even morning thought. It was just messages that I sent.
Sure.
And then in 2020, I got hold of the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Cham. And there he's got the 20-20-20 model. And then part of the 20-20-20 model is that you journal. And when part of my journaling then was then to write the morning thoughts. So now I was sending them at 5 a.m. And then I thought, man, I'm sending these in the morning. So morning thoughts.
Man.
And even then, I was not even signing them so as they are. So they've actually evolved. I didn't use hashtags that I use now. It was just a message, go out. And then I remember a friend of mine said something, and here's another thing. When you have a gift and you have a low self-esteem, you do not see what others see in you. And I had that. I was dishing out these pearls of wisdom to others, but
not enough for yourself.
I was oblivious to the impact. I was oblivious to the greatness that is morning thoughts. And I remember a friend of mine said, hey man, Do you know that you are great? You are brilliant. You're intelligent. And it was like those words penetrated the surface in me.
Man.
And then it was like, oof. And then there was an awakening. A new evolution of morning thoughts then came. And since then, since 2020, then I decided, okay, every day, literally every day, 365 days a year, every morning, they go out.
Man.
There was a time when I would send them late around 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Somebody would say, you're late. And then somebody would say, where's my morning thought? You know?
Okay.
Now, people more and more people were relying on these messages. And I realized this is way, way bigger than me. It is about the people who receive them and the impact that it has in their lives. And then I started taking them more and more seriously. And this edition of Morning Thoughts that I've released now, I intentionally left it in the way that it is, because I want everyone who buys all the editions that are to come to see the evolution. Yes, sir. Because that also resembles our evolution as people, that we need to start from a certain point and then grow. And you will see the growth as the morning thoughts go by, as I release more of them.
Hey man, I'm so fascinated by this, because you mentioned this thing now is stuck with me, that when you have a gift and you have low self-esteem, it's such a profound statement, right?
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine, I think sometime last week, and he's someone who's on the media quite a lot.
Yeah.
He's getting interviewed and all of that, and he said to me, KG, I was walking around just last week, man, and I had someone say that, hey, you that guy from, you the analyst, something like that. I don't want to say his name. And he was like, oh, man, I don't even realize the impact I'm having on people, right? And now come full circle now to a conversation you also had on the podcast with someone, Michael Unbroken, an American podcast as well, who said, look, you started this platform, right? And the day you decide to stop because of your own personal issues, you must remember that you're being selfish, because now you started something that people are relying on. You don't know who you're impacting, but people are seeing the stuff and they're like, man, Daddy's doing some amazing stuff, man. I want this. Like you say, right? KG is doing this thing. I need more of this podcast.
Yeah.
Although they won't they won't send a message or any of that.
Yes.
But deep down inside, you are creating something.
Legacy.
So, man.
Legacy.
Man.
The thing is, we always think of legacy in terms of money, in terms of wealth, monetary wealth. But legacy is so much bigger than ourselves. Somebody was saying to me, you are too focused on getting a qualification. And a qualification is for you. A qualification is for you. But this work that you do, what is it that you're spending time on the most? That which you're passionate about, that's where you should be focusing your energies on. And the qualifications will come eventually. Maybe the money will come, but that's where you're creating a legacy. That's where you're having the greatest impact. And this podcast has employed you, And most of us, those who are churning out life-changing content, we are not as aggressive in terms of putting ourselves out there, because we do not see what others see in what we're putting out. But those who've got nothing are like out there making noise. Yay, get this, yay, do this, right? But because we are also trapped in our own issues. Hence, that's why we need morning thoughts. We are trapped in our own issues. And because we're trapped in our own issues, we don't want others to be trapped in the same. So we relieve them, even if we are left behind. It's almost like the captain in a sinking ship, where the captain will say, everyone else must go. As long as everybody else is gone and I know that it's clear, even if I sink with the ship, it's okay. So our mindset is like that.
That's crazy, man. And this now leads me to something you said in one of your interviews that I listened to, that things don't happen to you, but they happen to you. And that's exactly what you're talking about now, right? Yeah. It's we taking stuff that we go through, and like, man, it hurts, and I don't want to see someone go through the same thing. Let me put something out there that might, calm them down, make their day better, right? So do you ever get the sense, like you said now, that people who don't really have nothing, and maybe I don't want to use those terms, but it is true. People who are not doing stuff that's impacting other people are a lot more out there, right? Who are self-driven, almost, right? Do you think that now there's a certain point that we hit as we keep on creating that we feel like, man, how do you navigate the ego that comes with the influence that you have over people?
We will always deny it because when we think we're getting there, it can't be me. People will discover that I'm a fraud. And then we have the imposter syndrome. It's like, no, but I hear people are saying this, but deep down it's like, no, man. Maybe they'll realize that there's nothing I have to offer.
Sure.
They'll realize that for this podcast, I actually have to prepare. I have to do this. And then when they have to engage me unprepared, then they'll discover something else. So we always trap ourselves in the, it can't be me. I see this, I hear this. But it's not mine. People are just exaggerating. So I don't believe that we will get to that level, because at some point we realize I've been feeding these people something. But do I really believe in it? So let me up my game and give them better and give them more. And when you give more, it's like, whoa, just when you thought you couldn't, and there you are. And you always keep yourself in check. You always keep yourself in check. And that's the thing about those kind of people. Right? You never feel like you've arrived. And because you know that there's the ego thing, you're always guarding against it. You're always guarding against it. You're like, okay, I know there's this thing. And once I get there, I'll stop being as effective, so I must guard against it. I must not. And so then you always keep yourself in check. You're like, You put out something and think, that could have been better there. And then next time you're aiming on improving. But every time you improve, you always find fault. So it's those mechanisms that help us keep ourselves in check.
Oh, I love that, man. Oh, I love it, man. There's now, like you're saying, keeping yourself sort of in check, being accountable to yourself. There's a certain practice that comes with this, right? So, for example, in the morning, a lot of people say I'm not a morning person, but I know certain songs, right? Certain books or a certain video on YouTube will elicit some kind of emotion for me to set the tone for the day. So, how important is cultivating those empowering thoughts, especially in the morning?
The beauty about the morning, and I've learned this very recently, is that when you wake up from a dream, you wake up thinking about what happened yesterday, you're anxious about what's going to happen during the day and what's to come. So you're already preempting things that have not yet happened. So you need something that's going to ground you. And how you start the day is very important. If you start it by flowing into whatever is happening, if the first thing you check is maybe WhatsApp and there's these messages, there's these statuses, people are sharing all these depressive things, then that alters the rest of your day. So it's important that in the mornings, most importantly, you have a routine. Robin Sharma, as I referred to, shares the 20-20-20 model. Others share different models. Others will say wake up at 4 a.m., others 2 a.m. It doesn't matter. As long as when you wake up in the morning, you have an intention of being positive, an intention of directing your day. I'm going to go biblical just a little bit.
Let's go.
There's a scripture in Deuteronomy 33, verse 25. The last part, it says, as thy days, so shall thy strength be. So as your day is going to unfold, that strength for that day, you already have it. So you will not have too much or too little to face the battles for the day. And because as thy days, so shall thy strength be, then you need to prepare your mind for that day. And that's why it's important to have a morning routine. So get the morning thoughts. And the nice thing about the book is you don't have to grab the book and want to go from cover to cover.
Sure.
Just, you can even do, some people be Bible and they go in the middle and whatever.
That's me
you can just page through and find the one that, oh, okay, let me see this one. And then you pick the one that can resonate with you for that day. And then you think about it. And then you think, okay, how can I then influence my day? And then you do your exercises. Exercise doesn't have to be something that you do for too long.
Sure.
Just 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes is enough to start your day and get your body going. And then you can do the rest of it. But it's important that you also do it before everybody else is awake. Because then, if you wake up and you wake up just before, you have to prepare this, you have to do that. If you wake up before your have-tos, then you've lost the day. But if you give yourself time before your have-tos, then you own the day.
Man. Oh, I love it. And this sounds like, to me, there's a lot of consistency needed in that, right? For you to maintain sort of a healthy routine, habit, ritual in the morning. But then there's certain days where you're like, today I'm not up for it, right? Today I just want to be sluggish. I just wanna be. I don't wanna think too much about the day. There's just too much going on. Life happens like that sometimes, right? And I speak for myself. Maybe for some people it's different, right? But then there's also that guilty feeling that, man, I promised myself for over these 21 days, I'm going to do this for 15 minutes, or 20 minutes, or whatever the case is. And when that happens, you kind of down on yourself a little bit, right? Yeah. So then what happens in those instances? Should we punish ourselves? Should we feel sorry for ourselves? So it's like, it's okay, man. Like, it didn't happen. Cool. Try again tomorrow.
It's like, why were you doing it in the first place? Why were you doing that 21 day? Why did you decide to wake up in the morning? Yes, today you feel like this, but your feelings can be wrong, right? So, yes, it's human. We all go through that. We all feel that. Sometimes I wake up blank in the morning and I don't know what to write.
Sure.
I don't know. And then I think, if I stop today and I don't send, then I may have broken the consistency. Yes. And getting back to it is going to be difficult. If I don't send it today, there are other people relying on this as part of their day when they plan their day.
Sure.
When somebody goes to their phone in the morning, in their mind, I'm going to check the morning thought and then I'm going to do this. And it's part of their plan.
Sure.
But if you don't have anyone else that you are accountable to, then the next person is yourself. So why did you start what you started? What was the reason? Because that will drive you. It's okay to feel sluggish. Give yourself 5 minutes. Go on your pity party. Go on your feeling slumberish, and then even time it. 5 minutes. I'm going to just feel. And then after 5 minutes, get up and do it. Get up and do it. In 2020, there were 2 books I was reading simultaneously. One by Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule.
Okay.
The second one was the 5 a.m. Club. Now, the 5-second rule says, instead of counting from 1 to 5, you count back from 5 to 1. But when you get to 1, you kick off your blankets and then you get to doing what you need to do. You whenever there's a decision that you have to make, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you make the decision. But you never allow yourself to pause after one. So for me, that also helped get me out of bed, because yes, alarm, snooze, snooze, snooze. So when the alarm rings, you hit it off, and then you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out. Because after that, you've lost.
Yes.
But the other thing that you asked was, the condemnation part. It's easy to drown in self-condemnation. Very easy. And because you're a performer, you condemn yourself the hardest than others will do. And the voice in your head is your worst enemy when you are in the self-condemnation mood or mode. Because that one keeps repeating. And that sends you down, 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 down. It can either get you out or deeper into depression. So what we then need to do is acknowledge that, cool, I feel like this. But what have I been able to achieve in the past? By doing this, by getting up in the morning, by following this routine, how has it changed my life? And if I stop now, might as well just give up. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to wake up in the morning and make sure that at least by 7 a.m. the morning thoughts are out. Because I want to sleep in. But now I have to. Because this is what I've chosen, and this has chosen me. There are people who follow Morning Thoughts on Facebook. There are people who follow Morning Thoughts on Instagram and then on WhatsApp. And they are scattered across the world. There's New Zealand, there's the UK, there's Malawi, there's Kenya. Like, it's all of those people, they are relying on me waking up and sending that message. Even though others are on different time zones, but the fact that it came, they're looking for that, they're waiting for it. Some of them will never like, some of them will never comment, some of them will never reply. But when I see them, they're like, yo, dude. Like the one I sent out this morning. So this month of August, I'm on a theme where I'm doing women's females' names. And that's another challenge again. How do you keep from not repeating something that you wrote last year?
Exactly. It's a challenge in itself, right?
Yeah. How do I keep from not sending something I sent 2 years ago, 3 years ago? And so this month I just went on names. And the name that I sent today was Beatrice. And one friend shared how it reminded her of her friend who died earlier this year. And it's amazing how there are always stories behind this. How one gentleman says, whenever I have meetings with my staff, I take the morning thoughts and I share it with them. There was a lady, and God bless her soul. So I shared the morning thoughts on a WhatsApp group, and then she picked it up, and then she said, "Wow, these are beautiful." And obviously that, imposter syndrome kicked in. But what does she see? And she loved them. And it turns out that she was a nun, and she was involved in various groups across Africa. And she was in the Catholic Church. So whenever she shared the morning thoughts, people would be touched. I remember the conversations that I eventually had with people who had questions about the morning thoughts.
Exactly.
It changed their lives. And I remember now, there was a time when she was traveling to Rome, and At 4 a.m., she sent me a message. Where is my morning thought? I'm going to be flying out.
Wow.
And I need to send it before I fly out. And I'm thinking, Heaven, Kanti, well, this thing owns me now. And religiously, she shared. She shared. And that's how also the morning thought got to grew throughout Africa. It was because of her.
Sure.
And even when she was sick, when she got to Rome, she took ill, and then for some time she was hospitalized. And when she came out, she said, thanks for the morning thoughts. And then she told me her story. And then she had wanted to see me. And we were like, okay, I'll see you. Once I get the book published, I'll bring it to you. But unfortunately, she passed before I could publish the book.
Oh, man, that's the soul.
So now the most amazing thing is her sister took a phone and kept seeing these messages come. And she read them. Wow. And then for some reason, I think the phone was out of date or something, or it was just and then she took the number and contacted me. And then now I'm sending to the sister. And then I said to the sister, I had promised a book. So once I get it published, then you see, so there's a whole accountability thing. So I cannot also afford to drown myself in self-condemnation on those days when I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it, but I must still do it because that's a promise I made to them.
Yes.
Even though it was not to say, hey guys, I'll send you morning thoughts every day, but because they are now used to it, I cannot just stop it. And sometimes there was a time when I wanted to stop them. I thought, okay, if I stop them, what will I do?
Because now you've started this whole thing. Sure.
Somehow I enjoy it. And now if I stop, I remember I was thinking, okay, what will I do? What will I send now? Okay, basically I stop and then what? So it's now driving me, but it's also giving me purpose.
That's so powerful. You know, I wrote something as well. I think I was talking on Youth Day, you know, that the importance of hobbies for the youth. And sometimes we look at hobbies as just, you know, he's just doing this thing.
Yeah.
But that might end up being your life's work, right?
Yes.
Without you even knowing it. And listening to what you're saying now, I'm like, well, same thing you said to me when I was telling you about what I went through with work and stuff. It's like, there's so many people who end up in businesses and who become megastars, superstars, you know, and ordinary people that are walking around.
Look at DJ Spoo.
Sure.
Look at Gareth Cliff. He ended up studying Cliff Central. How many people is he employing? Look at McG. He got fired. And look at where he is now, 1 million subscribers. Right? Look at Julius Malema. He was dismissed from the ANC. Look at what he's done now, EFF. So many people. So many. I don't even want to go international, but just people that we can relate to who are just here. They've been fired. Yours, I think it was just that. Hey, daughter, you don't belong here. You know when you keep wanting to associate with people who don't want you, and they keep rejecting you, and you keep wanting to go back. At the end of the day, you'll compromise your identity, and you'll sacrifice yourself at the altar of convenience. So some of us need rejection, and some of us you'll get into. Now think about this. If you were gainfully employed, you'd be reporting to someone. You'd have deadlines. You'll have all of these things. And you won't have time for this. You may even say, I can put this on hold. I can do this as a hobby, wherever, whenever. But there's a whole ecosystem that's relying on you being here. There's a whole ecosystem that's relying on your heartbreak. And if you didn't use your pain of rejection, then you would have wasted it. Never let your pain go to waste. If you let your pain go to waste, then things have happened to you. But if you take your pain and you turn it into your purpose, then your pain was just something you went through. And the thing most of us do is we take things that happen as things that are happening to us and we own them. This happened to me. I was fired. This happened to me. I was dumped. I was rejected. Thank God to the women who rejected me. Thank God for my ex-girlfriends because I wouldn't have the wife that I have today. How many of us can say that?
Man.
You know?
Because we're looking at it from a very completely, from like a victimized kind of lens, right?
Yeah. You know, I don't want to trivialize things like rape or abuse. But, and I'm going to try and be as sensitive as possible.
Sure.
That thing is not a nice thing at all. It's a very traumatic experience. Somebody violating your body. Once you have gotten through dealing with the raw emotions of it, why don't you see how you can turn that into something for someone? How can somebody else benefit from something that you went through that was painful? Yeah, I don't want to say maybe how do you help others prevent? How do you... Everybody has their purpose. And some things we are allowed to go through them because at the end of the day, there is a good that we can find. And I'm saying that intentionally.
Sure.
There is a good that we can find if we choose to be intentional. Look at the people who've been in car accidents and they end up in wheelchairs, who end up disabled. Look at people who are born with certain disabilities and they've made a positive change. They're impacting others.
Sure.
People go. There's a book written by Viktor Frankl. You know, he survived a concentration camp. Most horrific thing. And look at, he wrote a book that's changing other people's lives. So that experience happened through him because then it gave him that purpose and unleashed him into a different trajectory of his life. How do we turn our pain, as painful as it is, how do we turn it into a greater good? Take, for example, as South Africans, we're going through the most. But for some reason, we find a way of making a joke out of it.
Yeah.
It's who we are. There's that thing about us, and we can turn a crime scene, however painful it is, and then you find somebody making a joke out of it. Right? Not that we're really joking about, but we always find a way of getting ourselves into that mode where we appreciate who we are and we don't drown too much into a pity party, you know, because a pity party, it can last, and the thing with a pity party, you get lonely.
Sure.
When you're alone in a pity party, you get lonely. If I'm in a pity party and I realize you're happy, I'm going to come and tell you everything that's going wrong with your life. Mfanaka, let's go drink. Hey, it's bad. Let's go have drinks. Now we're drinking together. Hey, me and my buddy here, we're going through the most. And then we make noise about it. Drag somebody else in our pity party. So you can't have a pity party alone.
No. You need company. Misery loves company.
Exactly.
Sure.
So the person who coined that, they observed. It's not that they said misery loves company and then created misery for people to join. They observed. Oh, okay. So misery does love company. But when we are content, man, I can be alone. I can come here. I can come here and sit on that bench, watch the lake, watch the birds, watch people playing golf, watch people walk by, and I'll be like, life is beautiful.
Man.
I'm content.
Because you're okay.
Yeah. I can go to a restaurant and date myself. Order whatever it is that I want to. Somebody comes, can I join you? No, thank you.
No, I'm good.
I'm okay. You're not sitting there looking, hey, don't you want to join? No.
Sure.
But because you're content. But if you're miserable, you want to be in a crowd. You want to intoxicate the pain.
I'm getting emotional even listening to that.
We do. We want to intoxicate the pain. And the thing about intoxication is it wears off. And then in the morning, hello, I'm back.
It's back again.
Let's do this again. A never-ending cycle.
Daddy, now, there's a very fascinating analogy that you made. And we always talk about, we run a men's group. A support group, if you want to call it. I don't like calling it a support group because it sounds like some kind of, hey, I'm whatever struggling with. No,
an empowerment group.
It's an empowerment group. I love that. We're actually going to coin it that. And what I'm finding is a lot of men don't have men in their lives who can speak some truth to their situations, right? We don't have allies. Right?
Yeah.
And good allies at that. You can have all kinds of allies, but good ones, positive ones that move you in sort of a positive direction. I don't want to say right direction because, you can go anywhere, but in a direction that sort of empowers your life, right? And the decisions you make. And you made an analogy about a running mate. And I'm like, oh man, I love that. I'm a cyclist, so I know I can go a certain distance by myself, but when my mate is there, we can go on.
Yeah.
Right? We kind of push each other to, no, man, you're not tired.
Yeah.
Come on, man, you did whatever case just last week. I'm sure you've got another 10 or 20 in you, But they encourage us to bring out the best in ourselves that we often might not see, like you were saying about the imposter syndrome type stuff. So what did you mean by a running mate? And I want you to kind of break down that whole concept.
So a running mate is somebody who understands their purpose in your life. I'm not here to compete with you. And I'm not here to beg you. But what I'm here to do is encourage you. And in encouraging you, I gain strength because I see you keep going. And because now we are going forward, then it keeps us moving forward. We are together. We may not run at the same pace. But for as long as I know that you are moving, Dr. Martin Luther King said, if you cannot fly, run. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. And so I remember this one time when I was very unfit, and I share this around the running mate is, I went to do a 5-kilometer park run. And when I was there, because I was alone among strangers, I thought, I'll take it easy. When I feel like I'm tired, I'm going to stop. Little did I know that there were these two gentlemen, one Indian, I think one was Afrikaans. And I think they knew each other or whatever, but they were running together. And when they saw me wanting to give up, they came behind me and they put me in the middle. Said, come, let's go.
There we go.
And then, these guys, just leave me alone. But no, they're like, come, let's go, come. You can do this. And then I started finding that inner strength. And then my body felt like, I'm feeling tired now. There's a tap. I'm going to drink water and then let them go. I went. I just need to get some water. I went there and they're like, don't worry, we'll wait for you.
Wait.
So that's your running mate. And they waited. Like they kept, doing the jog in one place, waiting for me. I realized I can't slow them down. So then there's the responsibility to them. So I then came back and joined them. And we went. And when we got to a steep hill, and that's why you also need other people who are also moving forward, that you can learn from them and benchmark, not compete, but benchmark. Say, okay, if this one is doing it, what's stopping me from doing it? If people have endured pain and gotten through the worst situations in their lives, what's different about me? I can't afford that. So as we're going a gentle steep even, I saw this elderly couple. Like they were old. You can see they're wrinkled, but they were running up the steep. And then I thought, if I give up and I'm young and they're very old, and they looked at me and they're like, come on, young man.
Yeah.
You can't allow us to beat you. So I ended up realizing I can't give up on myself. But the journey along the way is difficult because I remember once I had finished, I still felt like I could still go on because I'd done it.
Sure.
So it's always in do it, but don't do it alone. There are running mates that you need. For example, I'm here. None of us are paying each other for being here.
Sure.
And I'm all for supporting what you're doing. Not because I want to gain something out of it. Because I realized we are all needed in the world. One person can consume what I have to offer and what you have to offer. And if I then compete with you, that means I need to discredit you to my own advantage. And the sooner I discredit you, the more I've lost respect. It's not going to benefit me in any way. But what if I came here and supported you? What if I came here and shared your podcast with everyone? It doesn't cost me anything. It doesn't.
It actually gains you way more respect, like you say.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even if it's just, oh, wow, I like what this guy is doing. I wish somebody else could hear. You know, manned up conversations. Oh, maybe we need to have harder conversations with men. You know, how do I give into it? Because we all owe each other a debt of love, and love is a giver.
Oh man!
And I cannot claim that I love you if I withhold from you.
Sure.
But if I love you, and if I constantly give to you, then you know that I love you. So running mates are important because now we are running mates. You're promoting my book. I'm promoting your podcast. Hey, all of us are benefiting. But at the end of the day, we're benefiting the people who are listening and watching.
Bigger than us. Man.
It's bigger. And you see those people with small mindsets, they're thinking me.
Sure.
But when you realize that, damn, this is bigger than me, then you need others. Those who know will tell you that if you craft a vision and it's something that you can attain within your lifetime, then it's not big enough. Your vision must surpass you. Your vision must require you to think, who else is good at this? Okay, you are good in generating content. Who's good in editing? Who's good in creating audio or music? Who's good in marketing? Okay, who's good in commercializing content? Who's good in managing the money that comes in? Okay, now I'm going to need auditors. Now I'm going to need to keep this thing going so that it's sustainable. So who's good in scaling up the business? Okay, so now you need other people to buy into the vision. And then you think, what if I'm sick one day and I cannot record? So who else can come in?
Exactly.
Who carries, who follows the vision? Who understands the mission?
Oh, man, that's so powerful, man. And those are running mates, man.
Those are running mates.
And it takes a while to build that relationship with a running mate, right?
Yeah.
There's something also special that you said is, you know, people are watching us right now.
Yeah.
Or eventually when they see this and they'll be like, hey, there is Zibuse. Hey, I need to talk to him, right? And boom, I give you all of my problems, my secrets, my whole life story.
Yeah.
Boom, next thing, they go more YouTube live or Instagram live. Or, hey guys, you don't know KG. This and the next, you know. And I think that's what keeps. We spoke about lack of trust amongst each other as men.
Yeah,
is because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it from maybe not on social media, but I'm gonna take it from this group. Next thing, Uba Gang know how. How did Uba Gang know this? But
yeah,
you know. So there's trust that we need to build. There's accountability that we need to build. There's an understanding of each other. Like I need to know where you're at. You need to know where I'm at. Then we kind of build with time, right? Do you think now with all of that happening, right? This lack of trust. How do we then, and I asked this in a previous episode, but I want to get a sense of, maybe from different men, how do you build trust with your fellow men?
Firstly, I think I'm going to go back to the first man outside of my family who was a stranger. First, I wanted something from him. He saw something in me. I don't know what. And we started talking. And in our talking, he saw potential in me. And, this person, he was here. I saw him as there. He was and I respected him. So I submitted myself to him. And he showed himself to have my best interests. And that's a key. Do I have your best interests? Or do you believe that I have your best interests? If I come to you and I rebuke you for something that you did, am I criticizing or am I building? And that will determine if I have your best interests. If I have your best interests, I'll build you. I'll say, KG, you don't do such things.
Sure.
A man does not do A, B, C, and D. And if you need to maybe do something, you then need to do it. Like, it's always balanced, right? But I'm showing you that I am for you. I'm for you, and I'm interested in building a relationship. I always say a relationship is like an umbrella. If we've got the relationship right, the umbrella is covered, then anything else underneath comes. But the moment we remove the relationship, then everything else is exposed. But the umbrella covers everything. The rain can come, but because we've got this relationship, somebody can come and criticize you, and you can trend, and people will say, cancel KG, cancel Mend Up Conversations. But if I have a relationship with you, I know you.
Yes.
I know you. And you know me, that I have your best interest. And if I come to you and I'm bringing what everybody else has said, then I'm already judging you like everybody else. But when I come to you and I say, let's talk. How are you feeling? Firstly, I need to know how you are. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? Right? And I care about you. And everything I do, now you hear, actually this guy is for me.
Sure.
And then we're building the relationship. That then, on its own, trust develops. Because trust develops from a relationship. And if the relationship is broken, or if you continuously destroy the trust, if you continuously destroy other aspects within the relationship, then the relationship will dissipate. So as men, we need that. I cannot come to you and criticize you or coach you or say something to you if I don't care about you. Similarly, any child that I see on the streets, I cannot condemn them, I cannot correct them, I cannot discipline them if I don't love them. They need to see me loving them
before you can do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
If I'm there's a difference also between punishment and discipline. Punishment is basically punitive. It's negative. You hammering, you breaking down something. But discipline, you're saying, this is what happened. This is what you did wrong. You were not wrong.
Sure.
But this is what you did wrong. And this needs to be corrected. And the corrective measure is this right now. And constantly, I'm consistent in how I apply discipline. So if you do that next time, I still stick to it. Then the child sees. And when there's nothing wrong and the child is doing right, I see the good they're doing and I call that out. Oh, cool. So this person no longer just sees me when I'm doing something wrong, but even when I'm doing something right, they call it out. And a child will subject themselves to you. As men, You don't submit to me. We tell women. We tell the women in our lives. We tell our wives, but the Bible says, you must submit. But what are we doing? If you have to tell a child, you must respect me, then check yourself. Check your actions. If you have to tell your wife or your girlfriend or your fiancé that you must submit to me, then check yourself.
Man.
If I have to tell you, KG, listen to me, then I must check myself. How have I been to you? So as men, we need that. And I've learned that as men, we build trust when we do things together.
Yes, sir.
Let's take a walk, right? Or let's do an activity together. And because we're then doing, we can talk. We can talk. It's not uncomfortable. If there's a silence, we can just avoid the silence a little bit. Keep working. But then we come back, we say, have you thought about it?
Sure.
But you're not just working, you're thinking. And then we come back, we keep doing. So we really first need to build trust. Maybe there's somebody watching this podcast and they're loyal to it. And the reason they come back is because they can see that what you're putting out is something for them. Then they trust you. Anything and anyone you bring to the podcast, they will take their opinion. Exactly. They will take their advice because they trust you. I can refer somebody to you, and because you trust me, then you trust them.
Yes, sir. And
imagine if I send somebody to you and they swindle you.
Then it has an impact on you as well.
Exactly. So as men, we need that. And if we can do that for each other and to each other, we can go along. There's a lot that we need to do here as men. As I said, that there's that other topic.
Yeah.
And if we can build each other. My philosophy is, if a woman has not made herself available to you, she is not yours. Wow. Even if you have your own woman and you're having your own issues, but if she has not made herself available to you and she has not indicated it clearly, then she's not yours. If she needs something from you and it's for her betterment, give it. And when you give it, make sure that everything you do is no strings attached. Because we like this woman is hot, bruh. I must have some.
Sure.
Right? And then we think, how can I? But can't we just give without any expectation of reciprocity?
Hey, that's a hard one, Teddy, Because a lot of guys feel like you say, if I give, then I deserve to get something in return, right? Yes. Like why would I give? Why would I take you out on a date and spend X amount of money and not get something?
Yeah.
And look, it's a. I'm not supporting that idea at all.
Yeah.
But it's just the reality of what's going on.
No, it is a reality. We need to and we must accept reality before we can change anything.
Sure.
You cannot deny something and then want to change it.
Man. So, Daddy, we're having a very fascinating conversation, man, and I want to wind this down a bit.
Yeah.
Man, there's so much to talk about, right? But, of course, we have to bring it back to the book. And I know it's an ebook for now, right? You're still working on the hard cover, the hard copy. But what's been, and just to wind it down, and what's been the sort of hardest part about the book? As much as you've built it over time, what has challenged you in it, and what's your favorite part? If maybe you've got it off the top, you can maybe give us a little snippet of it.
It's the biggest challenge about the book was getting it out there. It's when you do self-publishing and you don't have the resources, it's expensive.
Sure.
You get all these quotes. Sometimes I wonder how these other guys do it.
Yeah.
Like somebody turns out book after book after book and they're self-publishing. I'm like, wow, I respect you, dude.
You've got the money for it. Right?
Yeah. It costs. it costs to get somebody to edit, somebody to design the cover, unless you're good in the editing and the designing and you can do all of that.
Sure.
And then you still have to print the book. It's not cheap. So that has been the biggest challenge. But my biggest joy about the book is that from the first edition to the one that I'm busy with now is the evolution.
Yes, sir.
Is the evolution of the book. It's not really about the content as it is about the morning thoughts themselves. When I was working through it, I read some of them and I thought, wow, my writing has changed. And for someone who's going to come and buy the third edition, they would have missed out on seeing the evolution into the third edition.
Exactly.
It's almost like getting a series when it's like season 5. You don't have the context of season 1. So, and it's also a testament to who we are. We evolve, we change. And one of the other biggest joys about Morning Thought was the impact that it has, how it continuously touches people's lives. For me, that's huge. It humbles me.
Yeah.
I cannot say this is me. And I believe it's also a reflection on my life. I used to say the F word and I used to drink booze.
Okay.
And wow, the transformation. It's amazing. And I'll attribute it to God.
Yes, man.
He has crafted my life in such a way that those who are outside see the change in me. And with me, it's that testament that your gift will bring you before kings and will take you places. I mean, I've been interviewed by a lady in 2020 who was in California.
Wow.
And at that time, I had not even evolved to who I am. He has cleansed my mouth, my language, my speech. He has refined me. I've been to platforms where I, on my own strength, I would never have been.
Yes, sir.
I get to sit or stand and talk to adults, to grown-ups, people way more advanced in life than I am. And for me, always when I see them smile and nod, then I know that I'm on the right path.
Yes, sir.
I've been in the presence of ambassadors. And because of the transformation that God has had in my life, I've gotten their phone numbers, I've built relationships with them. And I'm excited to see what the way forward holds.
Yes,
you know? And not because I'm doing it on my own, but because of Him.
Sure.
You know? I have people whom I respect highly. You know, the first man that I subjected myself to his correction and his leading, one day said to me, I look up to you.
Wow.
The first time I became a best man at a wedding, it was at his wedding. And the people who had come were people who were high profile. And they said, oh, wow, this is you. Pule says so much about you. Respects you. And for me, that was humbling. How dare I step away from God? How dare when He has done so much? Why would I go back? Here you are, as great as you are, seeing the greatness that is in me. But I believe you're not seeing just me, but we are engaging on a godly level. It's the God in you that identified the God in me. How dare I step away from God? How dare I not acknowledge Him? So for me, he's taken me from glory to glory. And I'm not even at the end. And I don't know where the end is. And eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has it entered into the hearts. But he has done in my life. I'm seeing my life at the end. There's this friend of mine who was going through something recently, so challenging that he's speaking faith, right? And his phrase is, I've read the final chapter. God wins. So I've read the final chapter of my life. God is good. God is still on the throne.
Praise the Lord, man.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Let's come back from church. But yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's quite humbling. And I'm looking forward to contributing to your growth, your success, and in everything else that you do.
Man. Daddy, yeah, man, I'm blessed, man. This is, I think it's a conversation that was meant for today.
Yes.
Right? For this time, and at this place, right?
Yes.
I'm going to try and make it to the camp as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe you want to highlight, speak about that as well.
So we've got the camp from the 1st of September, which is a Friday, 1, 2, and 3 September. It's just dads and their children.
Nice.
No moms, no babysitters, just daddy and child, because we want to encourage dads to always build that relationship with their children in the absence of moms. Not because there's anything wrong with mom, but just you as a dad taking responsibility for your child.
Man. So guys, you heard that, man. We're going to put that in the show notes. Make sure that if you are interested, check it out. Follow Dads in the Picture on social media as well. Yes. We're going to put all of that in the show notes, like I said. But Zibuse, I really appreciate this. I'm humbly blessed as well. And man, I'm honored for you to even be here, man.
Yeah.
Following someone on social media always gives you like a very different impression. But now when I met you, I'm like, this is a brother, man. So
thank you.
So to anyone who's checking this out, man, make sure you're probably gonna hear this in the nighttime. I hope it sets your tone for the next morning when you wake up, right? If you listen to this in the morning, I hope this blesses you. I hope this encourages you. I hope it opens you up into something inspiring, something empowering. Be a good ally, man. Find yourself a running mate.
Yes.
Right? To be a good running mate to others as well. And we'll catch you on the flip side, man. It's been another installment
and
of
big ups to your running
conversations. And bless to my guy, Busy Bucks, behind the camera, and also for allowing the space. He's crying about time. Yeah. But we're gonna be out of here, man. So peace and love, family.